You see this chair? This is my current office chair. I got it for free. It was literally trash on the side of the road. It has a questionable stain on it, which is fine as long as I don't think about it. But you know, otherwise it works perfectly fine, aside from a slight wobble in one of the armrests. But yeah, it works for what I need it to, which is just sitting at the computer. But there is one big downside, and that's that it's not very ergonomic. You can see that I tried to put a pillow here to support my back, but it doesn't really work. And so when FlexiSpot offered to send me a chair, how was I supposed to say no? Don't really understand how they expect me to do all of this upside down. Here's the problem. The chair doesn't exactly match the floral antique art gallery vibe of my room, and so for this video, we are going to fix that. We're going to give this chair a nice fancy makeover. Hi, my name is Emily, and I am an amateur furniture reupholsterer. Before I defile this chair in the name of art, let me tell you a bit more about it. FlexiSpot's C7 ergonomic seat is a versatile office chair that comes in both foam and mesh seating options. The one I have has a total mesh covering, which provides great bouncy support and doesn't deflate under heavy use, unlike my old office chair. The C7 has a wide and deep seat, and most importantly, it has this dandy lumbar support that can be adjusted as you wish to conform to your spine, which is exactly what my tired old back needs. Since I'm a shorty, I didn't need to adjust the chair too much, but if you're a tall person, first of all, jealous. Second of all, rest assured that every inch of the chair is adjustable, from the headrest to the angle of the back, to the height and angle of the armrests, to the seat depth, to the height of the chair itself. FlexiSpot offers a 30-day return policy for a risk-free trial and a 10-year warranty with direct replacement for damaged parts. If you want to grab your own ergonomic chair and cease the torment of back strain, FlexiSpot is currently running a $50 off deal on any individual C7 series chair. That means if you buy 2 separate C7 chairs, you can get $50 off on each of them. Just use the code BRANDDAY50 to get this sweet deal. That's BRANDDAY50. Thanks again to FlexiSpot, and now let's get back to my attempt at furniture upholstery. So let me really quickly explain what I did to my old chair. Basically, I got 2 of these fancy pillow shams from the thrift store for very cheap, and then I just attached them with fabric ties, and on the bottom I used elastic to hold them in place. You know, it looks fine from afar. When you get up close, you'll see that everything is just like a little messy. And then I got a little butt mat, and then I throw on a little leaf pillow for decoration and also to support my back. But as we previously covered, this is not the ideal solution for ergonomics. So I'm thinking of doing a similar thing for the new chair, by which I mean I'm gonna cover every inch of it with thrifted fabrics, except just like with more tact. All right, let's see what kind of fabrics we have to work with. So here are the materials, and also those. So I have 2 rolls of this red velvet, big roll of green mossy fabric that looks promising, light green tablecloth with little leaf patterns on it. I have a lot of this, so I feel like it could be useful. This very cozy patchwork cat fabric. It says friendly felines on it, and a bunch of random fancy / nature core trim, and this golden sequiny one. I also managed to dig up this fabric button kit in case I want to do the buttony thing, and also this gold silvery rope that maybe could be used for decoration. Ideally, I'd have some kind of tassel trim, but I don't have any on hand, so maybe later when I go to the thrift store, I will keep an eye out. Jury's still out if I'm going to keep these armrests, because I don't like the feeling of swiveling the chair around and having it hit the side of the table. See, it just like limits my range of motion so much. And so I began throwing the fabrics on the chair. I know other people have given their chairs an aesthetic makeover before. Most recently, I saw Morning Mercury do it, and of course, crafting queens Rachel Maxey and Martina from Nerdforge have done it too. I myself have only really studied this three-way conversation chair for inspiration, but sourcing all the right kinds of fabric would have taken too long, and that's why I decided to raid my own stash. Also, the plan was for this transformation to be take-offable, since it tends to get unbearably hot in my room in the summer, at which point I'd probably want to strip all of this down so the chair mesh can work its cooling magic. I also have this fancy shiny flower embroidery thing that I got for a different project that didn't end up working out, but maybe we can use this right here as a piece of decoration. Don't know if I want the seat itself to also be this mossy green fabric instead of the contrasty red. And since I didn't give you guys a close-up of this fancy pearly trim, let me show it to you right now. At this rate, the chair is gonna get covered in cat hair before I even get to any DIYing. What do you have to say about that, Milo? I think to get started, we're gonna have to craft up some pattern pieces. So I have this roll of cheap bedsheet that I'm probably never going to use for anything else. And this would be perfect for creating our pattern pieces. And essentially we're going to treat this chair like it's a mannequin and just drape the fabric over it, trace out the shape, convert that onto paper, add the seam allowance, and then trace that onto the real fabric over there. I've never done draping before, so this should be very exciting and hopefully a fun learning experience. I know I should probably pin this in place or something, but I don't want to accidentally destroy the mesh. Ideally, this fabric should be as taut as possible. Maybe I could clamp it? I'm fairly sure real upholsterers don't do this. Listen man, I'm an amateur. What do you want me to say? The difficult part is that the headrest kind of folds in, so I gotta hold it in place while I trace it like this. I'm gonna be real, I don't even know what kind of footage I got. So that's the shape of the headrest. I think that's not bad. Last part, the seat. It occurred to me that it might have been easier if I did all the vertical pieces by taking apart the chair and laying them down flat, so I don't have to be fighting against gravity. But I already put the chair together, man. I don't want to take it apart again. Headrest, seat back, lumbar, and butt. As for how I'm going to keep these on the chair without sewing or gluing them in, I was thinking that basically it'll be like a fitted sheet. So I would extend the lip pretty dang far so that once I put an elastic in it, it can wrap around and cinch right here. Whenever I get packages that come with a lot of paper for padding, I always keep them, specifically because I know it would come in handy for pattern making. The first thing I had to do was ensure the pattern pieces were perfectly symmetrical, and I did this by folding the fabric in half, ignoring any asymmetric discrepancies, and tracing it onto paper. This dice is almost exactly 1/2 inch wide, so I'm going to use this as a template to trace around the pattern piece for the seam allowance. Now let's try the fit of this thing. Seems like it fits pretty well. If anything, if it doesn't fit perfectly, we can just take in the fabric like you would a real item of clothing. Okay, now I just repeat this with all the other pieces of patterns. So most of these could fold in half pretty easily, but this one, there's a pretty big discrepancy in the corner here, so I think I'm just gonna go safe and trace the outer one. So basically this is the plan. I'm going to attach a rim, and then at the open edge of the rim I'm going to create a channel where I'm going to feed a piece of elastic through. I'm going to test it on the smallest piece I have, which is the headrest, and I'm going to measure how long the rim piece should be. I did this with a rope for some reason. I guess the idea of getting a tape measure was too much. 7. 18 plus 18 plus 7. So 18 plus 18 is 36, plus 7 is 42, 44. No, 43. 43 inches. I'm gonna do 5 because I gotta remember that I have to add a channel for the elastic. I don't think I gave you guys that good of a look of the green fabric earlier, so let me show you up close. Look at this. Nice and shiny and mossy. It just looks so luscious. 43, and then add 1 inch for the seam allowance. I can barely even see the chalk mark. Here I have some elastic. It is almost definitely not enough, but I just need to look at it for the width, and it's about ½ an inch. It just occurred to me that I only needed to draw half of the pattern and then just cut it on a fold. Well, now I know. Now it's time to attach the snake to the headrest. I'll definitely have to notch the snake piece when I get around these really tight curves. So I'm going to do my old trick of stay stitching and then notching it. I mean, I guess it isn't really a trick because it's just something you're supposed to do. Now we sew. Let's go put this on and see if it fits. I mean, it definitely fits. Now let's put on the elastic. I think that's a good size. Now we sew this together. This feels like a very fancy shower cap. Not sure if you can tell, but it's pretty baggy on the bottom, and that's because... Oh, let me move the camera back. On the back here, the post of the neck stand gets in the way of this fully contracting. So that's something I'll have to see if I can circumvent, but otherwise I think it turned out pretty well. Now that the proof of concept is successful, I can move on with the rest. Because the seat back will also run into the same problem with this neck post in the way, I think maybe I'll make some kind of tie that goes around like this. The lumbar also will have the same problem with this back adjustment handle. The seat is not going to get the elastic treatment. It's just going to hang freely down the side. And I previously mentioned that I don't have any tassels on hand, so instead I'm going to do some triangular bunting, a lot like the ones I put on my shelf. I thought about doing some more work tonight, but clearly Mika has other plans. Mika left, but now Milo has taken his place. Mika really wants to play, so I'm gonna call it a night. I just received the package, and you know what that means. More paper! Anyway, right now I've cut out another long snake. Looping this. And now stay stitch along one side. Pinning these together. I'm only slashing around the curved areas of the fabric because it would be pretty annoying to have to slash around the entire thing. Not to mention entirely pointless. What is it, Mika? As you may know, I don't like sewing around curves, and this project involves a lot of curves. And yes, they were annoying, but it wasn't as anger-inducing as I thought, probably because the fabric is pretty forgiving since it's both slightly stretchy and furry. Or maybe I'm just getting better at it, but who's to say? So together, and before we add the channel, I'm going to measure this little stem here and then cut out a corresponding notch into the rim piece. Great angle we have. Anyway, 3.5. I'm going to open up a notch like so. Why can't I snap right now? We're going to stitch this back. Yes, Perfect. So once again, I have the elastic threaded through a channel, and right now I'm trying to decide if using ribbon for the ties would be too slippery. I also have this green one, but I feel like it doesn't really match. I could also use this golden silvery rope thing. I'm not sure if it'll be really hard to sew through this thick coils though. I guess it's worth a try. Come on, get in there. And then now I sew it in place with some green thread. And I know that instead of doing all of this, I could have just used the golden rope instead of using the elastic. Like I just loop the rope through the channel and then tighten it. As but why I didn't do that? Because I don't know how to thread this through the channel without it just fraying and falling apart. I'm so scared to cut this because I know it's just gonna start unraveling. Ugh. I'm gonna Google how to do this first. Okay, so I have some thread. First, I make a loop and then just start wrapping it. And now pull this through the loop. Pull down the other end. Ooh, that work? Oh my gosh, new skill unlocked. You can pull the knot slightly below the tutorial said. I think that's about as tight as it can go. For good measure, I also melted the ends with a bit of fire. That ain't half bad. The main problem is that the fabric can't lay completely flat on the very curved surface of the chair, and I think that's where the buttony things would come in handy. But once again, I don't really want to pierce the mesh of the chair. I like the mesh the way it is. I'd like to preserve it. So I'm just gonna have to be okay with this. If I haven't even mentioned it, you probably wouldn't even notice. So everything is shaping up pretty well so far. Now we gotta do the seat back and then the butt. I am planning to reutilize the original seat cover from my old chair because I like the way it looks and my mom made it for me, so it's very special. So for the fabric, I don't think I'll be using this fancy mossy green one. I'd most likely be using this green one that I have a lot of. It's a tablecloth, I think. I used it to make, or I attempted to make a tux out of it, and it didn't really work. I don't know if I'm ever going to air that footage. Maybe next April Fool's I'll have like a special episode or something. But yeah, anyway, the ties worked out perfectly. I'm very happy with this. That was like the weirdest okay I just did. This is more like a shrimp. Now this cat fabric, I do have to be a little more careful in using because while it is really cute, it has a pretty low thread count. It's very coarse. I really don't want it to start fraying and unraveling everywhere, so I think I would trace out the shape of the pattern piece on here and apply interfacing only to the edges just so I can prevent it from fraying. Look at this. Cat in bandanas, cat with some balls of yarn in a basket, cat in a salad, cat with a fishbowl, cat with a tie. I just love this pattern so much. Friendly felines, I love you. I think the saddest thing about buying fabrics from thrift stores is that you come across the coolest stuff for really good prices, but it's really hard to find them again if you need more. Part of me feels really bad for cutting this up and using it for my chair, but also I think I would also feel bad if I just bought this and then just left it to rot in a drawer somewhere. So it's a good thing. This is a good thing. I got this little box at a garage sale just now. And now we apply interfacing to all of this edge. So actually I realized I was tracing the wrong piece, so let's do this again. Sorry if you can hear the roof guys outside, but anyway, although the interfacing worked, I realized the fabric is kind of sort of double layered, so while the bottom layer is locked in, the top is still prone to fraying, and it doesn't help that my cats really love this fabric. So in the end, I did have to blanket stitch it all together. I see Milo approves of my chair so far. I'm really happy with how it looks, and I think my cats like it too. Milo, don't do that! And then it was time to figure out the triangle bunting banners. I was trying to decide if I should use these 2 colors or maybe even these 3 colors, but with the help of my consultant, I decided on the red and dark green. But before I can make the banners, I had to make the seat cover itself. Having worked with this fabric before, I know it frays like nobody's business, but I apparently decided that was okay and just went ahead and cut it. And then I made a paper— oh my gosh, I swear they're getting louder outside. And then I made a paper template for the banners. The plan is I'm going to make a bunch of these triangles, sew them to the butt piece like so, serge, well I guess not serge, blanket stitch all of the raw edges, flip all of that, and then top stitch everything so that it lays flat. Now let's get into triangle production mode. I basically spent a bit of last night cutting out all of these triangles, but now that it's daytime and my mind is clearer, I think maybe it's a little too skinny. It just makes the chair look very top heavy, and I'm not really sure that's what I want. Maybe I should draw a new mock-up. This is the old template, and this is the new template she tells you not to worry about. I think proportionally that's more what I'm looking for. So aside from the dimensions, I also changed the depth in which I did the top stitching. This one is a lot more inset compared to the original, which is about 1/4 inch. This one is 1/2 inch. And I think that gives it less of a curled up stiff look. And also for the backing, instead of the plain beige bed sheet, I'm using the same leafy green as the butt piece itself. Meanwhile, Milo has taken a very violent liking to the chair.
Milo, stop it.
He also really likes the giant box the chair came in.
This fabric is... Milo, I'm trying to film here. This fabric is already fraying like hell, so I'm gonna have to work quick.
It is the next morning. I made another triangle. We're gonna get mass producing on these, and also I made another snake to go around the rim of the butt piece. But yeah, I'm really hoping I can finish this chair today. I need at least 5 of each color of triangle, so let's get making.
Now we need to cut 10 more triangles in this backing fabric. And we're going to do that via magic. Watch. See? Easy peasy. Here to inspect my work. Now to top stitch all of these.
So this is the preview. These will stay down much flatter once I actually sew them into place. I think it works pretty well, color-wise and length-wise. Now I just gotta take this off and then sew everything into place. I was going to serge all the edges because, as you can see, this fabric is very keen on fraying. Now I wonder if I should just make another set of the seat and the rim and then just slap that all on top. And now we plop. This is sewn right sides together. I left a little gap here to flip everything right side out. But first I'm going to trim the edges down. I don't think anything can beat the feeling of when there are no more raw edges. Well, actually, I still have to sew up the opening, and I did this with some ladder stitching. And lastly, I just got a top stitch all the way around the edge. I know the background is extremely messy, but look at it! I think compared to the rest of the chair, it's a little plain on the border, so I may add this ball of green fancy trim. I decided to hand sew the trim on for no other reason than the fact I wanted to. Sometimes the machine feels like a beast that needs to be wrangled, and I just wanted a nice, soothing pre-bedtime activity. After that, all I had to do was glue on the shiny little flower, and then we're ready for the final reveal. So, this is my chair. I'm honestly very impressed with what I'm able to do from just scrounging around my own fabric stash without buying anything really. Anything new at least. Of course, I bought all these fabrics from somewhere. But yeah, considering that this is all fabric I already had on hand. Okay, Mika, I'm very happy with what I came up with. Let me take you on a closer look again. I love the contrast of the mossy velvet and the straight normal velvet. The color scheme of this pre-existing butt mat, very fitting. Friendly felines. I wish I could say that were my cats, but as you can see, Mika and Milo have taken a liking to using this fabric as a scratching board, and also Milo loves chewing on these armrests. I still am planning to remove them someday, so they remain undecorated for now, but even if I left them on, I don't think they look super out of place because the chair legs are still the same color, so there's some consistency there. But yeah, thank you for watching, and once again, thank you FlexiSpot for sending me this chair. Once again, FlexiSpot offers 30-day risk-free trials, and if you want your own chair like this, well, not exactly like this, but if you want your own chair, they are currently running a brand day sale, and if you use the code BRANDDAY50, you can get $50 off any C7 line of chairs. But yes, that is my spiel. I love my chair, and I hope you liked this video. And I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye! Yesterday I came upstairs and I just looked at it and started giggling because I was just so excited.